Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Charlie Huntington and I am Public Relations Chairperson for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for Pennsylvania's bioscience, medical device, CRO, and healthcare IT industries. Tonight, we continue our special series on science leaders in our local community. But before we get started, I'd like to remind our viewers that financial issues relating to life sciences, healthcare, or technology matters or companies may be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since this program is pre-recorded and shown at a later date, please keep in mind that the information may no longer be current or relevant. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. Tonight, I'm pleased to have with me as my co-host, Kimon Hatza. Kimon is a business attorney and partner at GrowthCounsel, LLC in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His focus is on the life sciences, healthcare, and information technology areas. Welcome, Kimon.
Thanks, Charlie. Happy to be here.
Kimon, would you share with our viewers, please, what is new with your practice since our last show?
Sure. Thanks, Charlie. I'm happy to do that. We have really been busy since, well, actually all of 2021, but it has been building steadily. And I would say from the latter part of the summer, we have been pretty much at or near capacity. A lot of transactions in the life sciences, health IT, med tech spaces, a lot in with technology companies as well. Currently, I'm working on two in the one is for a health IT company that's in the process of entering into a contract with a large pharmaceutical company. The other is for a company that does consulting on regulatory matters for pharma companies, and they're in the process of selling their company. They also have a software product that they use in connection with that consulting. So we've been very busy. I am anticipating that this is going to continue well into next year, and I'm happy to report back on our next show.
Well, congratulations on your on your practice and all the good that you all are doing. And
thanks, Charlie.
Hope your year, you guys finish out the year as strongly as it started.
Yeah, I think we will. Thank you very much. Charlie, I was wondering if you would share with our viewers what's on the agenda for Life Sciences PA.
So there's some very exciting news that just broke, and I'm referring to the announcement on the 8th of December that Life Sciences PA is relocating its headquarters from Swedesford Road in Wayne over to Discovery Labs, the old GSK facility, and they used to call it Upper Merion, but it's in King of Prussia. So you may know that University of Pennsylvania, through Jim Wilson's lab, has taken down about 150,000 square feet over there to work on their gene therapy labs. And I think it's excellent that Life Sciences PA is now going to be a presence over there. And I can't wait just to see how the collaborations go now that they're a part of that team.
Yeah, that's
they're scheduled to move in February from their location in Wayne, February of 2022. So stay tuned.
Very exciting news. Thank you.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
Well, Kimon, we have an incredible guest today. Her name is Tia Lyles-Williams. She was born in Indiana. Tia has her undergrad in biology from Howard University She has a master's in regulatory science from the University of Southern California. As a college freshman at age 17, Tia began her career in a field by enrolling patients in clinical trials at Howard University's Cancer Center. Her work history includes time at the NIH, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, Human Genome Sciences, which is now GSK, Amgen, Takeda, Abbott, Lonza, and Jazz Pharmaceuticals. Tia is founder and CEO of LucasPye BIO and HelaPlex. She's received the following honors recently. She was named to Inc. magazine's 2021 Female Founders 100. She is a 2021 Forbes Next 1000 honoree. She was a presenter at the 2020 Bio International Convention, and she was also named a unicorn by Philadelphia Magazine in 2020. Congratulations on these recent honors, Tia, and welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So, Tia, can you tell us how did your background prepare you to be founder and CEO of LucasPye BIO and HelaPlex?
Yep. So as you mentioned, I matriculated through Howard University for my undergrad, got a master's in regulatory science from USC. So those degrees in between, also working with big pharma companies, primarily in manufacturing, developing manufacturing processes, as well as submitting and drafting documentation for regulatory approval. All of that in combination with my education prepared me to start my company today. It allowed me to kind of see the differences or things or items from my experience on what was missing from the market. And then now with being an actual startup founder and being in the startup community, I'm able to see additional things from their perspective, whether they're rolling out of academia or they're already outside academia as startups in the commercial market. I get to see a different picture and see what's missing from the market and try to attack that with my respective companies, LucasPye BIO and HelaPlex.
Okay. And how did you wind up in Philadelphia?
I actually wound up in Philadelphia, kind of almost on accident, but definitely on purpose. We were initially supposed to be in Gary, Indiana. We didn't want to work with the new administration that was coming in as far as their city council and their mayor. The mayor we wanted to work with had lost her seat. And so Philadelphia became an option between Chicago, New York, and Jersey. And our engineers at IPS, specifically the VP over there, Tom Piavino, suggested Philadelphia. And our initial contact was an initial meeting with PIDC to look at some property. Then after that, by further assessing the market, we made the decision to come to Philadelphia.
Very good. Well, can you tell us about both of your companies and describe their services, please?
Sure. LucasPye BIO is a contract development manufacturing organization. We're the only CDMO in the state of Pennsylvania, but only CDMO in Philly that has large-scale CGMP manufacturing capabilities, not for just cell and gene vectors, but also for the majority modalities in our market, which are recombinant proteins, enzymes, and other monoclonal antibodies or traditional antibodies. HelaPlex is the first commercial life science co-working space for life science startups, including biologic drug R&D, med device, artificial tissue engineering, and health and med tech software. So both of those companies serve some of the same markets, but also different markets. LucasPye BIO is focused on the manufacturing piece and actually manufacturing material to support their animal studies, human clinical trials, and the commercial market post-regulatory approval. HelaPlex is to get them through the door, kind of mentor them and get them prepared to work with somebody like a CDMO or the equivalent for a medical device R&D company.
Tia, many of our guests, particularly those with early stage companies, are so concerned with funding, both current and prospective funding. And I was wondering if you could share with our viewers how your company is funded currently and what your future plan is for funding.
So right now, we are in operation in regards for LucasPye BIO. We have our strategic partners at Jefferson Institute for Bioprocessing, as well as Celtion, a cell line developer out in the Bay Area, California. Primarily, we are receiving revenue in consultation fees and also bootstrapping from myself and other people that are supporting the company. And although we're open for business, we're having a hard time bringing in customers. One, initially because of COVID-19, a lot of projects got stalled out. And then two, having companies for their fear, especially some of the big pharma customers that we have in our pipeline, having a fear that we would interrupt their timeline to market, meaning once they become get green light for human clinical trials or get green light for the commercial market, making sure that our facility is up and running to support their manufacturing needs. So right now we're truly bootstrapping, but we are in conversations with several investors and are trying to work and navigate our way around that at the same time, be able to confirm a location via commercial real estate property. HelaPlex is still very early, but we're rounding out fairly well over there. We're preparing for a crowd fund to kind of generate brand awareness, to kind of also recruit life science startups into the facility. So a website will be built. You'll see a computer model of how the facility will potentially look. And this will be the first time that life science startups will be able to actively invest in the co-working space that they plan to take a lease in. And we have some different rewards we'll be offering in exchange for that equity crowd fund, such as a period of free rent and virtual access to the HelaPlex program via our proprietary software partners at SciSpot.
Wow. So it sounds like that you're not like many companies that are, for example, companies that are developing a drug or something like that. They have this, 7 to 10 year runway where they have to continue to get funding time and time again and try to develop until they can ultimately get through clinical trials and get their, intellectual property approved, basically, and commercialize it. Doesn't sound like that's going to be your issue at all. And as soon as you gain some traction and start getting some of these contracts, it doesn't sound like you're going to be looking for future funding, unless I misunderstood you, that you're going to be developing it basically out of the revenue you're generating.
Exactly. Unlike traditional biotechs, we are considered a service provider. And so we're working our way around investors because they are used to dealing with companies that have a product which they can actually invest in and can see it actually go to the market. With us is very capital intensive. There are some things that we have met as far as some milestones, which is getting the first company contract for LucasPye BIO with our first publicly announced customer, Indigenous. And so right now we're trying to get term sheets so we can finish the negotiations with the landlords of the lease that we're going after and start getting accounts funded to move forward in that sense. And then those other customers that are waiting for that announcement, we'll be able to make an announcement and hopefully be able to close those deals to get their projects started. We're able to make money from them right away when those deals are closed.
That's great. When we first spoke, you had talked about a twofold mission. First, to lower the cost of drugs, and to accelerate the development of drugs as well. How will you go about doing that?
Got you. So our business strategy is to charge below market pricing for our services. We work with our customers from end to end. So from cell line development, preclinical development, all the way to commercial market, we're their partner. We also work with those customers to help them accelerate their application through the FDA approval process or any other country they're going in, because we have that knowledge base. Most of my competitors do not have a regulatory department or have the knowledge of how to navigate that space. They pretty much depend on their customers. We're the opposite. We're bringing that knowledge to market. Another thing that we're shaving off cost is we don't have a paper documentation system for our quality infrastructure. Ours would be based in the cloud, and then we'll be controlling our supply chain with our proprietary mobile apps by requiring them to either ship us things a certain way. We have a very robust program to make sure that we're always using the right materials at the right time. And if anything does come up, we have a robust program, a platform through that cloud infrastructure to remediate any issues that may come up, so that the situation that everybody knows about with emerging biosolutions and getting materials mixed up between customers, we're pretty much eliminating that with that cloud system by allowing the customer to visually track the manufacturing process for their asset. And then on the back end, us having control of the supply chain as far as making sure that we're managing and implementing and utilizing the materials as agreed with that particular customer.
Is there anybody out there, a competitor, that's trying to do something similar to what you're doing now, or are you unique in the marketplace in terms of that?
I am pretty much unique. The biotech industry is pretty much the last of the Mohicans, so to speak, to have any control over their supply chain. Definitely not trying to bring down that price. Most of my competitors charge a premium for their raw materials and consumable goods. We do not. We have done our back end deals with companies such as Paul Biotech and other suppliers in the industry to get rewarded from them when we sell a specific amount of raw materials or consumables via their product offerings.
Okay, thank you.
Very smart. When we were preparing for the show, Tia, you suggested you'd like to see an independent evaluator for contract development manufacturing organizations and for contract research organizations. Can you discuss what that need is and tell us what you'd like to see done, please?
Yeah, so that's kind of revert back to the proprietary apps that we have. We're hoping to use that data to support a program where you have a third party that would kind of audit CDMOs and or CROs and really evaluate how well they adhere to their internal quality system, as well as how well do they adhere to regulatory requirements, for example, FDA requirements, and using that system to kind of rate each individual company kind of against each other, but against a rubric to let those CDMO customers know, hey, this is the type of quality partner that you're signing up with. This is how we evaluate them. So it's very much similar to how the health department would rate a restaurant as far as their ability to be clean and adhere to certain regulations as a restaurateur or a food chain, fast food chain business.
Again, great model. I hope you can get it done, or those around you can get it done with your leadership.
Great.
As you know, we'd like to have our guests mention something that most of our viewers may not know about you. And when we were preparing for the show, you told us about your stint in the music industry in California. Can you shed some light on that for our viewers? We thought that was great.
Sure. While I was, I'm actually diagnosed with a chronic condition myself. So while I was going through the process of getting diagnosed and figuring out what treatment plan I was going on, I kind of had to take a little bit of a seat back and step out of the biotech industry. And so I moonlighted in the music and film industry out in LA. We did some things at that time. Twitter was the big social media. Instagram was not here yet. And so we would do ghostwriting and copywriting for celebrities, particularly music artists, on their behalf via their actual Twitter accounts. We also did some other marketing things such as little videos or little shorts to kind of have interactive content available to put into the market on behalf of those artists. So it was fun. I even went as far as got a master's degree in entertainment business to kind of give myself that credibility. And I worked with a ton of people like Chris Brown, Jamie Foxx. There was tons of other people that we did those services for, but it only lasted a few years. Once I got cleared by the doctor, I ran back fast as I could to biotech.
Good for you. Good for you. Thanks for sharing that. So what would success look like in 5 years for you and your businesses, Tia?
Great question. For LucasPye Bio, success for us would be obviously having multiple customers in our pipeline, being able to expand our facility footprint and to get more accounts, especially in the global market. Success for HelaPlex for us is really not about the internal numbers and how well we make money. You're going to make money off of co-working space. But for us, our success would look like how many exits we're able to support with the startups in that program.
That's great. Tia, just to continue on Charlie's line of questioning there, what are the hurdles, I guess, to a business like yours breaking into your industry? Are there a number of hurdles out there that you have to clear in order to really sort of make your way in your industry?
Yes, it's definitely all about connections. Definitely want connections in the life science startup community as well as the commercial community, especially if you're a biotech with a particular asset that you're trying to develop. But more importantly for us, some of the things that are important for us is having that relationship with City Council, having that relationship with the local community for both LucasPye Bio and HelaPlex. The specific examples are for LucasPye Bio, we want to be in the underserved community on purpose, not just for the advantage of some of the federal contracts that we may qualify for without having to go through a bidding process, but also being involved with the community and providing a number of jobs. We've already done an agreement with the city council in Southwest Philadelphia with Jamie Gardier on providing a number of hires from that job hires from her district specifically, and they range from entry level all the way up to senior management.
That's great. That's great. I want to turn our focus a little bit now to first to the region. There are, as you know, and I think it's been said that the Philadelphia, 80% of the world's pharma is within a 100-mile radius of Philadelphia. So there's an awful lot of folks in this industry here, and there's an awful lot of pharmaceutical companies. As pharmaceutical companies have started to outsource some of their R&D and downsize, their what used to be historically large internal R&D groups. A number of people, highly educated, very talented folks, have been displaced from their jobs, and many of them have spent years working on particular compounds or something that the pharmaceutical companies just decided not to pursue for one reason or another. And some of those have said, you know what, maybe I'll start my own company and build it around something that I'm familiar with, that I've been working on for a number of years. What advice do you have for those folks that are thinking about starting their own company, but really are more on the scientific side and not the technical side, and are really, but want to build a company around what they know, a product that they know? Do you have any advice that you can share with those folks?
Great question. I deal with companies with that same question on the HelaPlex side. But to answer that, as a scientist, you want to make sure that you stick to what you know, so to speak, but be smart enough to reach out to individuals or organizations that may have information and things that you need to support your company. So, for example, if you don't have the wherewithal to be a CEO, if you don't want to be bothered with that, then just call yourself a chief scientific officer and go get a counterpart to be their CEO, go get a counterpart to be their CFO. And the next thing I would say, make sure that you're putting yourself and your company in an environment that's going to support you. There's no reason to pay rent for somewhere, especially a co-working space, if they're not going to provide the resources to you to support your growth and your trajectory into the commercial market. So you want to make sure that you get with a community of mentors that's going to support you. Launch Bio is a great organization that provides free information on how to get to the next level. You have all of these co-working spaces in the district to turn to. And then you have outside resources that you may need to turn to as well. The academic community, I know they get a lot of flack, but they do have a lot of resources to support you, even as a large life science startup in the commercial market.
And then one additional thing, what are the biggest challenges that you see, having now been in the Philadelphia market for a while, for the market to I guess the biggest challenges and opportunities for the greater Philadelphia area in terms of sustaining a vibrant life sciences community and culture?
I would say it's two things. It's the first one is funding. You got to have a lot more venture capital and angel investors, but more importantly, venture capital firms be willing to take a risk on a life science startup. And then the second thing is space. We already know there's a shortage of wet lab space and office space here in Philadelphia, and we're actively building and trying to get that up and running. But those are the two things. And with that space, we need these landlords to be a little bit more unconventional and take a little bit more risk on life science startups when it comes to executing lease agreements, and being more understanding of the funding requirements for the company, in addition to getting the funding to support their lease agreement, and giving them the time to fundraise and rally up their troops to be able to execute that lease successfully. So you can't do business as usual when it comes to life sciences in terms of money and real estate. You got to be able to take more risk and be willing to think outside the box to get that deal done.
Tia, for years, JP Morgan has had a healthcare conference in January that you're probably very familiar with. 15,000 people would typically go to something like this and descend on San Francisco. last time I checked, there was going to be a virtual component to it, and there was going to be an in-person component to it. That may have changed. Do you plan on going to that conference? If it's held, do you know if it's going to be held? And if not that conference, do you have other conferences which have either sprung up during COVID, or that you might suggest to our viewers?
Got you. So yes, that conference is being held. I'm not sure the virtual component. I don't remember seeing it. They may be offering it, meaning you're probably only be able to see certain things, and other parts you'll probably be there in person. Unfortunately, we are not attending this year. We did attend a few years ago, but we will be attending the Bio International Conference this upcoming summer, and we will be attending the American Biomanufacturing Convention, where it is set up specifically for CROs and CDMOs to source startups or other companies in the commercial market to be able to take advantage of the services.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, Tia. You have been an outstanding guest. We have more material I'm sure we could cover, and I want to have you back with Kimon to bring our viewers back up to speed in a year or two with how you're doing, if that works for you.
We appreciate that. Thank you for having me on the show. If you're interested in investing, please contact us. We are doing a funding round. We're looking to raise $5 million in exchange for 10% equity, and we're willing to cut that up any way we need to cut that up. But thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. That's for LucasPye BIO.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Tia.
Kimon, thank you for co-hosting. I want to remind our viewers of our next guest. Our next guest is Dan Delmar, who's the founder of Virtual Angels Network. And as always, we appreciate you tuning in to Money Matters, and we'll see you next time.